In this video, we're going to be talking about reconciling a checking account. Now, basically what that means is your banking records matches the bank's records. So in other words, if you say you have, let's say $500, let's say you have $500, then you better hope the bank agrees with that. All right. So reconciling means making sure everything matches. All right. So let's get started. Now, what we're looking at here is a check register. All right. Notice all the transactions, all the checks that he's made versus all the deposits he's made. And when we scroll down, we have his monthly checking statement. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these, all this information here, this item, or these rows here, and we're going to check off everything that everything that's in his banking register. Now, a checking statement, basically, and it's how I explained it in class, is almost like a a, a progress report for your checking account, where the bank says, you know what, you made a deposit right here for 1,500. Hey, we have that written down. We have that on record. All right. So all these down here are things that they have cleared. So any deposit you made, it should be represented some in this transaction part of the chart here. Okay, so the first step you need to do is check off everything that has been cleared by the bank. So the $1,500 deposit has been cleared by the bank, so we're very simply just going to put a little check here. That just means, hey, it's been cleared, we're good. Now the $80 check has also been cleared by the bank, so we're going to put a check here. And the $30 one has been checked as well. All right, so if you notice, there's a couple things that doesn't have checks. We don't have the Netflix as well as the grocery store withdrawal. Now what that means is you still wrote those checks, or you still made those payments. It looks like you did that online, but it just hasn't been cleared by the bank, which happens pretty much every month. So don't think that it's anything bad or anything. Now, if something hasn't been cleared, it's considered outstanding. Outstanding means it just hasn't been cleared with the bank, even though that you wrote the check. All right, so when it says how many checks withdrawals are outstanding, basically that means how many checks have not been cleared from the bank. Well, that's 2 checks so far, for a total of, add them both up, for $95. All right, for $95. Now, the next step is how many deposits were outstanding, meaning how many deposits have not been cleared by the bank. Well, there was only one in this problem, and it's been cleared, so there's no other outstanding deposits. So the answer is 0 deposits are outstanding for a total of $0. Now the last question is, did the checking account reconcile? Meaning, does the bank say you have as much as you say you have in the checking account? Now, in order to do this, there's a couple things you need to look at. First off is the ending balance on the statement, which is 1530. Secondly is the last balance in your check register. Now, just by looking at that, you're thinking, well, they don't match, so the answer is going to be no, they don't reconcile. But here's the thing. Remember that you wrote 2 checks, and they just haven't been cleared by the bank. So it could possibly work. You just need to kind of work backwards a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something that you might want to pause the video to take a look at. Is when you are considering or reconciling a checking account, use this little relationship. The ending statement on your balance, or the ending balance on your statement, plus the outstanding deposits, minus the outstanding checks. If that equals the final entry in your checking register, then you're correct. All right, so let's do this. 1530 is the ending statement, or the ending balance on your statement. Now, if you remember from the problem, there is no outstanding deposits, so that'll be a 0. The outstanding checks, I believe, was $95. Let me check that again. Yes. And my last entry in my checking account was $1,435. So I'm going to 1,435. Now, if this makes a true statement, then the answer is yes, it reconciles. So 1530 plus 0 minus 95. Okay, it does work. So that means the answer is yes, it does. All right. Now let's go to the next one. Now the next one, if you have this worksheet from the from class, you'll notice that you would have to have written all the balances in. So subtract, add as you're working through the check register. All right. So what we have here is our next checking statement. Okay. So once again, we're just going to go ahead and start checking off. So a deposit of $160, 160. Check. Now, if you notice, there's already a check here for the $89.99 one. That just means the problem. Look at the previous month; they checked it off. The person whose checking account this is. All right. Oh, Dave, that's his name. All right. Now the next one is a deposit of 452. Now, notice that we have two 452s here. You will not check both of them off. You would check off whichever one is. So 452, look at the date. Oh, the date is 629. So the 629 deposit, that was the one that we're going to check off. If you notice, there's no other 452 deposits. So that means this 452 will not be checked off, which means it'll be outstanding. All right. The $65 one deposit checked off. So now let's go ahead and knock out the withdrawals. There was an ATM withdrawal of $50. We're going to check that off. There you go. There's a 450. Check that off. 325. Check that off. 6238. Check that off. And lastly, 127.16. Check that off. Now, let's go back to our check register here. All right, now there's some things that have not been checked out, or checked, sorry. All right, so the highlighter, I'm just going to highlight. Notice that this check hasn't been checked off, nor has this check right here been checked off. So these are two outstanding checks that have not been cleared yet by the bank. So to answer some questions, how many checks or withdrawals were outstanding? Well, there are two of them. So there were two checks. Oop, that's not what I wanted to use. Let's use. There were two checks for a total of for $195.59. Now, how many deposits were outstanding? So how many deposits did not clear? Let's see. I think I saw one. Oh, there it is right here. This deposit right here of $452.17. So $452.17. So there was one outstanding deposit for $452.17. Okay? Now, did our checking account reconcile? Well, remember, using this formula, let me clear the ink here. Using this kind of relationship, let's figure it out. So the $92.74 will be here, $92.74. Now we had an outstanding deposit. I believe that was $452.17. $452.17. And lastly, we had some outstanding checks. What was it? It was $195.59. So $195.59. Now, does all this match the final entry in the checking register? So let's go back to our problem. Oh, there it is. $349.32. So $349.42. If that makes a true statement, then you know everything works out and it reconciles. So I'm looking, and it does. So the answer is yes. It reconciles. If there's ever a situation, so like for example, and we're just going to finish with this, let's say if I change this to 359.42. Well, obviously we know that's not going to work because we know it equals 349, but if it equals 359, then you would say, no, it does not reconcile. All right, so whenever the records do not match up, it does not reconcile. So hopefully you learned something. Let me know if you have any questions the next time you see me. Thank you.